Well, we made it. It's the weekend. Kathleen, it's Friday, August the 22nd. It's News 6 Extra. I am Christopher Heath. There's Kathleen. It's here. It's
I
the
know.
weekend.
Finally.
Friday.
Although it feels like the week did go by pretty quick, but still, it's Friday.
It is Friday, and it did. I will say that the week did clip along, but I kind of feel like we always feel that way when we get to Friday. It's like, this week did fly by. But back on Tuesday when we were lamenting, like, how is it only Tuesday?
Right, that is true. And there is, I'm on call this weekend, so
that would make two of us.
Oh, okay.
So well, I'm on call as well.
Well, I hope I don't hear from you, but not in a bad way.
I have to call you.
But...
yeah, the dread of being on call is always just what's going to happen.
Right, that's true.
Come on. No problems, no whammies. Yeah, this is the weekend, but so we'll see. Listen, we've got the race going on this weekend. Huh? We'll see what the weather ends up doing. It was storming here at the station earlier today, like out of nowhere. We finished our morning editorial meeting, and I look out the windows, and it's just pouring rain.
Right. That's the same thing. I looked up from my computer, and I was like, oh, my goodness, where did this come from?
Right. And I mean, really, because we have this beautiful lake out back of the building, and it was so heavy coming down, like you could not see across anymore because of the rain. And I'm like, that's something. We don't usually get that early in the morning.
No. Coming in early today.
Right. All right, let's bring in David because he would understand why it is that we got rain today. What's going on with that morning rain? We're not a morning rain kind of state. We're an afternoon rain kind of state. This is unacceptable, sir.
It is rather unacceptable, but if you tuned in yesterday, I know, Chris, you weren't with us yesterday. We had Lisa
I was
Bell
watching,
hosting the show.
And I remember watching, and I was looking at the chat, and one of our viewers remarked...
That's right.
It was me. I chimed in. I was watching. I was doing professor things yesterday, but I did end up watching the show and saw it. So, but yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting.
Nice.
Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely fine. It's Friday after all, so we can just have as much fun as we want. But yeah, so even though Aaron is now pushing up into the northeast coast of the United States, way a ways from us, we're still feeling the influence of it. It's actually tugging down additional moisture from up to our north and west across the peninsula. And this is something we've been highlighting since about Monday, Tuesday, and now we're really starting to see those values ramping up in terms of the moisture department, and that's why we're kicking things off as early as we are.
Yeah, were you here? Were you in the office this morning for when that thing came through?
I could hear it. I had to step outside.
I was blown away because it started just kind of raining a little bit. And I'm like, oh, look, we're getting a little bit of rain. And then it just started, like the bottom fell out. And I'm like, again, it's not one of those things that you're used to it in the afternoon. Like we get the sea breeze colliding and, all of a sudden, and it's raining, but then to have it that early in the morning. Anyway, I'll let you get on to it. Explain, we've got a weekend of racing, and we're going to be racing to try and race between showers, if I'm correct.
All the racing, Chris. So let's get you all over to the radar. Very active radar this morning, as a matter of fact. So we kind of hit the nail on the head with your forecast yesterday. If you joined us for News 6 Extra, we'd mentioned that the morning commute was going to be fairly tame. There was a little bit, very tiny clusters of pockets of showers out there very early this morning between 7 and 8 o'clock. I noticed them on the horizon. As a matter of fact, leaving the gym this morning, I made a remark that, that's a pretty solid looking cumulonimbus tower. Tell me you're a meteorologist without telling me you're a meteorologist. Walks out of the gym. Yeah, look at that CB over there. But anyways, you can see things are really ramping up out there now. And as a matter of fact, if you look down towards the southern half of the peninsula, definitely outside of our viewing area, we already have a couple of special weather statements popping up. And that's the one thing I want to highlight here. This is fairly impressive. We are familiar as Floridians with, first half of the day showers and rain. These are bona fide thunderstorms, and they're doing pretty good, especially over southeastern Polk and much of Osceola County, getting now into the Brevard and eastern Orange County area. Look at the lightning off of some of these guys. You can see the total strikes in the top right-hand corner of the screen, anywhere between 100 to 200 at a given point in time. So these are some fairly impressive thunderstorms. The kicker here is, since we're getting them so early, we're expecting them to slowly but surely start to peter out as we go through the rest of the afternoon, because it is not going to be as hot out there. And I'll show you that here in a second. These are your rain chances for the rest of the day today. You can see particularly sticking around for much of the Friday. Dare I say, this could possibly slow down your evening shenanigans if you have any plans to start taking advantage of the weekend. But rest assured, by about 8, 9 o'clock, things will really begin to calm down. So if you're headed out in the evening time for dinner, to go out and hang out with some friends, family alike, we should be good to go after a little bit. We'll take a look at our in-house clouds and rain model here, and you can see by 4 p.m. this afternoon, see what happens? We get that initial surge of the more aggressive thunderstorms, the ones that fire up, drop the heavier rainfall batches, and then also fire up the thunder and lightning. And eventually, because we lose that heating of the day, it doesn't quite get there, like Chris had mentioned at the start of the show, with the sea breeze ignition. After we get that instability, as it's called, to crank, we just end up with lots of more or less inconvenient rain. At least that's what I call it. I know there's still a lot of us out there that want the rainfall, but in this case, a lot of us are just going to be blanketed by that steady, more consistent, okay, if it's going to rain, I'd rather it pour. And if it's not going to pour, let's just get it out of here. And that's what it looks like for the rest of the day today. And then as you fast forward the clock, you notice that that shield of rain rapidly dissipates by about 7 or 8 o'clock. So we're looking pretty good. It's not like the day is going to be an entire washout. And then we're probably going to see a repeat of this tomorrow. You can already see on our future radar here that we start to see pretty similar development early on in the day. This is Saturday at 10 o'clock, pretty much the exact same spot, all thanks to Hurricane Aaron, which may or may not be a hurricane very much longer within the next 24 hours. We'll touch on that in a moment too. This is the influence, the reach that Aaron still has on our pattern. That's why we're not going to see much of a sea breeze, if at all, today. And even tomorrow, we've got a really strong westerly wind just ripping across Central Florida. You can see gusts as high as 16 in Leesburg, Ocala at 14, and Daytona, New Smyrna Beach, 12 and 18 miles an hour alike. I bring that up. Doesn't seem like much for a Floridian standard, but the fact that this is driven by Aaron, who's way up to our northeast now, is actually pretty impressive. It shows just how far out the reach of that hurricane is currently. Temperatures, though, look at this. This is where we start kind of get into the good news here. 77 in Kissimmee, Orlando at 76, Ocala at 79, Wildwood at 75. You would think that fall is kind of in effect, but nope, it's all thanks to the rain that's moving on in. You can see, unfortunately, though, where the rain hasn't gotten just yet, DeLand at 90, Cocoa Beach at 92, Melbourne and Mico at 89, Titusville at 93. The heat index is also looking a lot better for the day today. You can pretty much see exactly where the rain is falling currently. Look at the heat index, the feels like temperature in Orlando. It's like, hey, Orange County, Central Orlando, we're just going to go ahead and dip right into fall. The rest of you can go ahead and hang out with the rest of summer. Look at that gradient there, the difference between Cocoa Beach, for example, and the Orlando reading. I find that very fascinating. 102 feels like temp right along the coast where the rain has yet to fall, but then Kissimmee and Orlando in the upper 70s. So it feels pretty nice outside today. And you'll see, because of the extended period of rain, our highs are only going to barely breach the 90-degree threshold, with the rest of us on the western half of the peninsula not even making it there. We could probably stay in the upper 80s for a majority of us, and the heat index looks a lot better as well, too. Granted, the triple digits are still here, but I would honestly say this is something we'll have to watch in real time. I'm not quite sure if all of us are going to realize the triple digit heat index because of all the cloud cover we have out there. The sun's really not going to be able to do its thing until it's well later in the day. And by then, as we all know, the sun's already lower in the sky, so it's not going to have as much of an influence. There's also a reason I mentioned watching in real time. I'll get to that here in a moment, but you can see the winds are still going to remain out of the west until an unseasonably strong cold front actually works its way down to our area. It's unfortunately not going to do very much in terms of bringing our temperatures down, but notice there's a couple of interesting signatures out there that try to flare up on it. We'll talk more about that for a later date and time. Right now, let's talk Coke 0400. That's tomorrow. Again, a little bit of more good news. Our computer models have actually trended to the lesser side of there being some rain lingering in the Volusia County, Daytona Beach area for the race in the evening. So I'm pretty confident. Gonna knock on wood here in the office though, because I've been a jinx recently in some of the forecasts I've put out. But I'm fairly confident, knocking on that wood for you all, that the Coke Zero Sugar should get off without a hitch at the 7:30 time frame. If you look at the clouds and rain zoomed in on that area, if you watched yesterday, it was a little bit more hefty with the rain still lingering in the immediate vicinity. But at the 7 o'clock time, notice how everything is really tapering off. Maybe some leftover clouds and a stray shower, but not enough to put an end to any kind of race plans at all. So I'm excited for you all. Wish I could be going. Big NASCAR fan myself, especially going in person. So have some fun out there. It looks like the weather is going to be good. And now, as I mentioned in a video I put out on Click Orlando earlier, I'm just as tired of you as you are hearing Aaron, talking Aaron, mentioning Aaron. And we're almost done, I promise. If you look at the satellite presentation right now, it's looking a lot less tropical and more mid-latitude. And by that, this looks more like something you'd see during the fall and winter with fronts attached to it, with a cold front coming down, swinging into our neck of the woods. You can see the southern half of the system is pretty much gone, and it is actually weakened down to a Category 1 hurricane, holding on for dear life at this point. And look at the difference there. Central pressure is at 956 millibars, and the winds are only at 90 miles an hour. So this has, for all intents and purposes, and I wouldn't be surprised if National Hurricane Center within, maybe by tonight, if not tomorrow, hands this thing over to Weather Prediction Center, because it will have made that transition from tropical to non-tropical. This is looking very almost nor'easter, just minus the snowfall with it because of where it came from. It's starting to really interact with the differences in air temperature and air mass kind of configuration, if that makes sense, up over the northern United States. Totally different environment than where it came from down in the deep tropics. Before we wrap up, I don't want to move too fast through here. I don't want to take up too much time either, but these are some interesting features here. 90L, we're maxing out the formation chances, 80% over the next 2 days, 90% over the next 7 days. For the sake of this show, I'm not going to talk too much about that because it's not going to play a role in our weather. 99L, however, if you notice, the 7-day chances were edged up a little bit. We're up to 50%, and that zone of possible formation. It's not a track per se, it's what National Hurricane Center thinks could be the place. If it were to form up, that's where it could be. And if you remember yesterday, it was much smaller. It was like maybe this big. You might be, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, might need the magnifying glass to see it. Now you woke up this morning and all of a sudden it's extending towards the Lesser Antilles, and our models have been slowly but surely trending towards a more organized feature, working its way towards the west. You can see reason I didn't want to spend too much time on 90L. Computer models are sold. They've taken the deal, and this thing is going to exit stage right, rapidly following behind Aaron as it makes that non-tropical transition. Could cause some sporty weather for Bermuda, but we will not feel anything, nor will our neighbors down in the Lesser Antilles or in the Caribbean, unlike with what they experienced with Aaron, which is good news for all of us. These are the computer models for 99L. So as this system continues to fight the good fight, dry air is kind of getting a hold of it. But what makes this so interesting to talk about is every single one of our computer models were confident this would have been gone by Wednesday. And it's now Friday, and it's still out there. It's a very resilient feature. So this is something that definitely has my eyes wide open, and I'll keep tracking it for you all here at News 6. But for now, we'll go ahead and start closing you out. Let's take a look at your 7-day forecast. Next couple days, we're going to continue to see those rain chances fairly elevated, all thanks to that westerly pull that Aaron still has on us. But as that continues to pull away and we welcome back high pressure as the front comes down, notice by mid to late next week, those rain chances are going to rapidly fall off, all thanks to some introduction of some fresh, dry air from up north.
Yeah, Aaron is now Canada's problem. It's high school football tonight. We thinking soggy, but we're playing.
I think so. Yeah, I think our thunderstorm risk is probably going to start to drop, which is kind of the opposite of what we typically see by about 2 to 4 o'clock. Depending on if the sun breaks through, maybe a little bit of very spotty kind of refiring up of some storms, but it does seem like because we're getting started so early, the second half of the day will mainly just be a little soggy, like you said.
Yeah, and fingers crossed for the Coke Zero. Not a huge NASCAR fan myself, but I know a lot of people love, rubbing his race and trading some paint. But not
Exactly,
my cup of
exactly.
tea. So, all right, cool. David, appreciate it. Thank you as always. Well, one of the big controversies here in Central Florida has been the orders from both the federal government and then from the state government to get rid of crosswalks that are not in compliance. And by in compliance, I mean those that have different patterns on them. The crosswalks near the Pulse nightclub were painted to represent what happened there and the 49 lives lost. Well, overnight, that crosswalk went from a rainbow pattern to simple black and white, causing widespread outrage. Mark Lehman has this story.
Dozens, including Orlando Commissioner Patty Sheehan, used chalk Thursday afternoon to recreate the rainbow crosswalk near the Pulse nightclub, after state DOT workers painted over the area overnight.
They did not have the courage of their convictions to do this through a legal process. They did it in the dead of night, and we're here to say that's wrong.
Sheehan says the project was approved by the state nearly a decade ago to honor the memory of the 49 victims killed during the Pulse nightclub massacre. She says they gave the city no warning despite giving notices to Key West and Delray Beach over other rainbow-colored crosswalks honoring the LGBTQ community.
We did it through their process. And now they want us to change the rules after the fact? No. That's not fair. That's fascism.
I spoke with Joshua Hernandez, a survivor from the deadly shooting.
I was there for 3 hours on the restroom. I get shot 2 times.
He was visiting his mother from Puerto Rico when he heard the crosswalk has been painted over. He called the move homophobic and a political attack by the state that's disrespectful to the survivors and the 49 angels who lost their lives.
It's sad that they do this because this is being here from the day one.
Last month, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy sent a letter to all 50 governors urging them to keep intersections free of political messages, artwork, and any markings not directly tied to pedestrians or driver safety.
This was a disgraceful, hostile act by our state government.
Dozens of local and state leaders condemned the actions of FDOT during a rally Thursday afternoon.
We will not be defeated. We will not be deflated. We are here to fight back.
Mayor Buddy Dyer sent out a statement calling it a callous action and accusing the state of working to erase the memory of the victims of the Pulse tragedy. This afternoon, Governor Ron DeSantis posted on X, "We will not allow our state roads to be commandeered for political purposes." Now, according to statements sent to us by the Florida Department of Transportation, it's the duty of the department to ensure the safety and consistency of public roadways and transportation systems, meaning ensuring our roadways are not utilized for social, political, or ideological interests. Also in the statement, they said in June, the agency reminded cities and counties of the change, warning that it could withhold funds for noncompliance. The U.S. Department of Transportation later reinforced the same policy. Now, last week, local governments not in compliance were told to bring their roads up to standard. In addition, FDOT says that it is now correcting pavement markings if they're not in compliance. Here in the newsroom, Jarrell Baker, News 6.
Well, the government is in no obligation to engage in any sort of speech, but if the government does engage in opening up a crosswalk to a version of speech, it cannot engage in what we call viewpoint-based discrimination. That is to say, you're in no obligation to paint the crosswalk, but if you do allow crosswalks to be painted, well, you cannot discriminate based on what the viewpoint is now. We do have several other crosswalks across our Central Florida region that are painted with other designs, not rainbow designs, and it'll be interesting to see if the state takes the same vigorous action with, let's say, the checkered crosswalk up in Daytona Beach, or over on Bumby Avenue in Orlando, there's one that kind of looks like watermelon seeds in 4 directions. We'll see if those get erased as well. Anyway, one of the other things that we're following happened overnight. Orlando police responding to 2 roommates having a disturbance. And when they got there, a 3rd individual arrived and police were forced to open fire. Mark Lehman has this report.
The investigation was focused down this stretch of Chatham Avenue after Orlando police say they were forced to open fire on a man earlier this morning. As detectives have been piecing everything together, we're hearing from neighbors and learning more about the man who was killed.
Very scary. And at the same time, it's sad.
People living in Orlando's Creative Village woke up to a big presence from law enforcement. It's where police say a sudden confrontation led to a deadly response.
You know, I come down here every morning to walk my dog, and I see this happening. It's kind of concerning.
Officers were first called around 3:40 Friday morning for a dispute involving roommates, but when arriving, they say a man not connected to the call attacked them unprovoked. According to police, he appeared to be sleeping in Luminary Green Park and charged at them with a pair of scissors.
Our officers gave commands for the suspect to drop the weapon. However, the suspect refused to obey their commands and continued to come and advance towards our officers.
2 officers opened fire, killing the man, who was in his 40s. Police also say he had a criminal history with prior arrests involving burglary with assault, grand theft, and possession of meth.
It's pretty shocking because honestly, I moved here a couple of months ago, and I moved because of the security of the building.
Rafael Melendez lives next door and says he's noticed a rise in homeless people outside his building.
I have seen more people after 10:30, 11 p.m. staying on this park already.
Melendez says the whole situation has him worried about his family's safety and hopes it will lead to an increase in security.
I would say if more cops come over at 9 and they patrol, it might be a little bit better space for us, you know.
As for the officers who were involved in this shooting, we're told they were not injured and they have been placed on administrative leave, which is standard as the FDLE investigates. In Orlando, Mark Lehman, News 6.
Well, no doubt as kids have headed back to class, parents and students have noticed that schools are trying to do more with less. Many schools facing significant budget shortfalls. Florida's growing, but unfortunately the money flowing to schools just isn't keeping up. And one of the first things to get cut when schools are facing a budget crunch is a lot of those extracurricular activities, getting kids out of the classroom, maybe doing some hands-on stuff, which is why the St. John's River Water Management District is trying to step up and get kids into nature. Paul Giorgio has a look at this program.
So right now our teachers are setting up, they're getting their rooms ready.
The start of every school year is like a blank canvas.
Lots of anticipation, lots of good energy.
Full of potential and just waiting for some color. Thankfully, Kelly Hicks has plenty to spare.
It pulls me in. I really like all the color.
The 5th grade teacher at the Galileo School for Gifted Learning is getting ready for a semester of projects.
I love hands-on activities in my classroom.
While she puts so much effort into her classroom,
There we go.
she'll tell you getting out of it is just as important.
That all gets expensive.
But Vice Principal Samantha Patterson tells me budgeting those extra supplies and off-campus trips can be a challenge.
You try in general to do a lot of project-based learning activities, a lot of hands-on, and that can be very expensive.
Last year, the school was awarded a grant through the St. John's River Water Management District. The state agency offered up to $3,000 per school for water-focused STEM curriculum, field trips, or projects.
What we hope the students get out of this is a connection with their natural resources.
The money allowed 4th and 5th graders to dive deep into the water crisis in Flint, Michigan.
They got super excited and engaged.
The project started in the classroom, but ended here with a field trip to Blue Springs State Park. 6 school buses dropped off about 200 kids. They took water samples and toured the park. It's a trip Patterson said likely wouldn't have happened without that grant money.
So this grant was able to make a difference in the lives of hundreds of kids, and they're still talking about it.
In DeLand, Paul Giorgio, News 6.
The weekend is upon us, as the great poet's lover boy once said. Everybody's working for the weekend. And in case you don't have weekend plans, I'm going to be cutting the grass. You're welcome to stop by and help out. I will wear a really cool brimmed hat. Looks good. Anyway, but if you're looking for things to do, Michelle Morgan has 6 things to do this weekend.
I'm meteorologist Michelle Morgan here at the German American Society Club, where Wine Fest will be happening on Saturday. Think good food, dancing, and
of course,
wine, of course. I spoke to the president, Linda Rosell, about what you can expect.
So every event we have here is dinner, dancing, live band. We have 1 hour of the wine fountain. They're set up over there right now, and people just come up with their glass and fill it, and we're featuring German wines, of course, and we have an array of German wines also at our full bar.
The event is open to the public, but tickets must be purchased online. Trek to Orlando is happening this weekend at the DoubleTree Universal Orlando Hotel. Join some of your Star Trek favorites for a great indoor event to beat the heat. Check out the Summer Send-Off event, adults only night at the Orlando Science Center this Saturday. Enjoy comedy, improv, music, exhibits, experiments, and live performances. Join the International Festival at Buenaventura Lakes Library in Kissimmee on Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. Enjoy food, activities, and iconic architectural masterpieces. The Coke Zero Sugar 400 returns as the NASCAR Cup Series this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Showers are possible, so be sure to have your rain gear nearby. Celebrate origami in the garden this Saturday at Lou Gardens from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Enjoy creative performances and activities, all included with admission. It'll be hot with scattered showers and thunderstorms around, so if you are attending an indoor event, that's your best bet. But if you are heading outside, don't forget the sunscreen. Now, if you have a fun event happening next weekend, let me know. I've been getting so many events sent my way, and I've already featured a few of them. So you can head over to our new 6 app or clickorlando.com. Just click Contact Us.
All right, Kathleen, listen, I'm going to go on the record and say if Michelle Morgan is allowed to have a glass of wine while doing her job, I see no reason why we can't do the same during News 6 Extra. The extra could be for a little extra wine.
Well, you are a manager, so I think you can make that happen. I can't, but you can.
Just shotgun a beer right here and be like,
right. It would make for an extra interesting show, for sure.
Yes. No, of the 6 things she featured, the German thing looked interesting. The origami. Have you been out to Lou Gardens before?
No, I haven't. And I know you're going to get me on that because that's another place I haven't been. But no, but that is on the list. I do want to go there.
It's really cool. A couple of years ago, my mom took me and my 2 sons out there, and they had dinosaurs all set up. And it was really cool to trek around, and it's a beautiful facility out there, just kind of, just Mills 50 area of downtown Orlando. So worth checking out. Okay, so we're wrapping up today talking about the Powerball. Mm-hmm. And I got cards on the table. You can count on one hand the number of lottery tickets I've bought in my lifetime. It's not something I'm into, but it's $700 million.
That is
a lot
true.
of scratch right there. So $700 million, that's this payout for the jackpot. Single winner could get a one-time payment of $316 after taxes. I don't know why we put in there after taxes. That drops to $240. It's like, it's not even worth me playing. I mean, why even play if it's only $240 million? I'm not getting out of bed for $240. I don't know whose voice that's supposed to be. Okay, but the chances of winning is 1 in 292 million. Yeah, your odds of walking out of here and getting killed by falling parts from an airplane are better than winning the lotto.
Well, that's true. I'm not a big lotto player either, but when it gets this high, see, I don't need the $700 million. I just need like $50,000. So maybe if I just win a smaller prize, I don't need the big jackpot. Just, a little fraction of it.
See, everybody's like, oh, if I won the lottery, I'd never come to work. I'd do this. I wouldn't quit. I mean, no. I would become impossible to work with. Yes, I'd be insufferable, but more so. Let's face it. But yeah, I'd keep doing it. But I don't play, so you don't play, you can't win, kind of thing.
That's true.
I've worked in offices in the past where they'll do like a lotto pool and everybody throws in a couple bucks and they buy a bunch of lottery tickets. And again, I've never seen anyone win from that. I also kind of feel like that's a bad idea because if you had like 12 employees in a pool and they won the $240 million jackpot and they had to split it, well, now you've just got a bunch of employees who aren't coming to work on Monday.
Right, that's true. Got to go claim the money, and then most of them will probably quit.
Okay, so $240 million in your bank account. We're after taxes. We've paid Uncle Sam. We the tax money's gone for sunshine and everything else that we spend tax money on. What are you doing with $240? What's?
I'm getting out of debt. I'm paying off anything that I owe.
Okay.
Probably buying a house, buying a car.
So you're left about $25 now.
Right. And then whatever's left, I would invest and then travel. But I'm with you. I wouldn't quit work. I would be too bored. I need to keep working. but I would just take a more vacation.
No extravagant purchases, no.
I mean,
Other than the car and the house.
Yeah, but other than that, no, nothing extravagant. Just invest, get out of debt. You know, nothing fancy. What about you?
I think probably just make sure that, same kind of thing, home, car, kind of set up the kids for, college or, college or wherever they decide to go to school. And that's it, just nice little nest egg to not have to worry about anymore.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think, my wife was born on a military base over in Germany. And she's always wanted to go over and kind of do the Rhine River and check out some of King Ludwig's castles and stuff. I think that'd be fun, and that'd be a kind of trip, you can obviously throw a couple $1,000 at and have some fun doing.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. Yeah, pretty boring. Not buying a boat, that's for sure.
No, I wouldn't buy a boat, but I would like to go to Europe. I'd like to go to, England, London. I'd like to go to Dubai. So I'd probably travel.
Or just go to Epcot. Go to World Showcase. You got 240 million. You can afford to buy a couple beers. Drink around the world, man.
Right, that's true.
Okay. All right. Well, that has, I think, once we've devolved into complaining about taxes and considering drinking throughout a children's theme park, we have reached the end of our broadcast.
I think so.
Kathleen, thank you. Have a fantastic weekend. Hopefully I don't have to call you in this weekend.
Right.
But you never know.
Well, you never know. I'll be around.
You better be.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Thank you to Kathleen. Thank you to David Nazario for weather. And thank you for watching. We'll be back here on Monday to do this all over again at 12:30 for News 6 Extra. Between now and then, we do, of course, break news all the time on clickorlando.com. And the news will start on air today at 4 o'clock. So you can watch News 6 starting at 4. If you're heading out for some Friday night football, have a great time. Stay dry out there. And if you're heading out for the Coke Zero, same kind of thing. Otherwise, we'll see you back here on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye.